Hi, I'm Micah Clark with the American Family Association. Appreciate you joining us today on this video recap of week number 2 at the Indiana General Assembly. Now, I want to talk about 3 bills. One of them saw action but won't move. The other 2 I hope see action. So the first bill I want to mention is one because I testified on it this week before the Tax and Fiscal Policy Committee in the Senate. That's Senate Bill 98. It made some news outlets. I think it was a great concept. The bill, authored by State Senator Andy Zay, would give a child deduction for an unborn child. The purpose of the bill is to give parents more money when they're expecting a child to help care for that child. As you know, if you've had children, there's all sorts of expenses come up, medical, other things, and of course you buy things that sometimes us guys never think of. I remember when my daughter was born, we bought all sorts of stuff that I didn't know babies needed, but there's all sorts of expenses with the delivery, with preparing for a child. And it's just a way to give parents, who's your parents, more of their money, let them keep more of their tax dollars. The bill received a hearing, but it has a $5 million biannual fiscal statement to it, or cost to it. So they may bring it up next year in a budget year. This is not a budget year. They gave it a hearing to hear the pros and cons of it, but they did not vote on the bill. So I just want to let you know I testified on that. I think it's a great idea, but we won't see action on that. The chairman announced that they're not going to move it this year. I expect it's because of that, because it's not a budget year and there's a large fiscal note to it. So something for next year is the deduction for an unborn child. Interestingly, I didn't hear any debate or concerns from the pro-abortion side. They kept kind of quiet about this. But another bill I want to mention, and these are 2 bills I want to mention that I'd like for you to take action on. And there's so many out there. I could talk about dozens of them. I just want to focus on 2 that I mentioned in our weekly email on Wednesday. The first bill, it concerns big tech. It's interesting, I looked at some polling recently. 56% of Americans, according to Pew Research, and 57% of Americans, according to Gallup polling, believe big tech needs to be regulated more. Now, a lot of those folks are liberals, but across the board, there's concern about the power, the influence, and some of the things that big tech does. And we could get into First Amendment things, we could get into surveillance, whatever the issue is. This bill I want to talk to you about is House Bill 1355, authored by Bob Morris, out of Fort Wayne. Bob's a great guy. He worked on this last year, put together a cleaner, better bill. It's been assigned to House Judiciary. That's House Bill 1355. What it does, it allows the state, through the Attorney General, to fine big tech if they house or promote or are a part of sexually abusive material towards children. We don't know all the tentacles big tech has. We're talking about Google, some of the other search engines, some of the Microsoft, things like that. It allows the Attorney General to place a large fine if it's determined that they are participating in things that are illegal concerning young children. The purpose of the bill, I don't think, is to punish big tech so much as it is to get them to clean up their act, get them to police the things that they host, the things that they pass on. So it's kind of an innovative, creative bill that I'd like to see brought up in committee, discussed, and we'll see what the committee members want to do with that in House Judiciary. But that is House Bill 1355. Now, every committee chairman has more bills than he has time to hear. So if you care about this bill, if you care about the influence of big tech on children, the problem of child pornography or children's access to pornography, I would encourage you to call your state representative on House Bill 1355. Ask them to support HB 1355. And we'll have information below on how you find your legislator. And when you find your legislator, go to that link. It will give you a direct number to the legislator's office, the legislative assistant. You can email from there and phone call from there as well. I encourage you to do both. If you really care about a bill, there's nothing wrong with emailing as well as making a phone call to your state representative on House Bill 1355. Now, the last bill I want to mention is a bill I really like as well. Senate Bill 128 by Senator Gary Byrne and Jeff Rotz, the education chairman, concerns transparency for sex education. What it simply says, I think it's a very creative bill. It simply says anything taught in a K-12 public school in Indiana has to be approved by the school board regarding sex education. Anything not approved by the school board cannot be taught in that school. Doesn't tell the school what to approve, School doesn't have to teach sex education. But what it does is, if a school chooses to do that, the school board needs to know about it, they need to approve it, and therefore there's some accountability. Anything not approved cannot be brought into the school, materials, speakers, has to be approved by the school board. And the second thing is, the school needs to post on their website for parents to see what the school board approved to be taught. It's a transparency bill, so parents know in advance what their children are being taught in sex education. If the school approves something, parents are fine with it, that's fine. But the school board would know, and the taxpayers would know, and most of all, parents would know. And that's Senate Bill 128. So I would encourage you to call your state representative about House Bill 1355 and call your senator, ask them to support Senate Bill 128, which I think has 8 different co-authors. So there's a chance that bill could be heard. And so I would encourage you to call your state senator through that Find Your Legislator link, encourage them to support Senate Bill 128, and you can call your state representative, encourage them to support House Bill 1355. Well, there's a lot going on in the legislature. We're only in week 2. I have a few more weeks of committee hearings. Things are moving quickly. There are literally dozens upon dozens of bills we're watching, perhaps hundreds of bills that could come up at any given moment. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes on what's being decided about what's going to be heard and not heard. So again, one of the best tools, because I'll tell you, media coverage of the State House is very, very thin, very hard to find. I would encourage you to read our weekly email on Wednesday, and we'll try and keep you on top of things that we care about from a pro-family perspective, things that are happening in your Indiana General Assembly. So again, I'm Micah Clark. Thank you for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. And again, God bless. Thank you for your support of the American Family Association of Indiana.